Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
Anniversary April is wrapping up here on The Pint. My name is John.
My name is Lloyd.
And we are going to talk tonight about the 45th anniversary of my second favorite movie of all time. There's a big spoiler for the Let's Rate This. Let's talk about 1979's Alien.
Let's rock!
Master, tell me all about the making of Alien.
Yeah, so Alien, like you said, 1979, released May 25th, or May 25th?
Yeah, it was a summer movie.
Yeah, that's right. For some reason, I just got in my head 426. I'm like, wait a minute.
As Master just said 426, I should have also mentioned Happy Alien Day.
Right.
Because we are putting this episode out on 426, which was the LV-426 in Aliens, Acheron, as they call it, the planet where they find the space jockey in the first movie. And also, we've been doing this a couple years now. 2 years ago, we did Aliens, and last year we did a comic book corner, or comic corner. Hold on.
How do you call it? Top shelf?
Oh, no, hold on. We did a corner box corner.
Corner box.
Episode. I'm going to leave that in. I can't even remember.
Where did I even get top shelf from?
I don't know. A corner box corner episode on the heavy metal comic version adaptation of Alien by Walt Simonson. So this year we're doing the original movie. I'm sorry, Master. Back to May 25th, 1979.
I can't believe we recorded Aliens 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Damn, it seems like yesterday. So directed by, at the time, Ridley Scott, but you damn well better call him Sir Ridley Scott nowadays.
That's right.
He was knighted by the Queen in 2003. Alien was just his second film.
Yeah.
Pretty good for a sophomore effort. I never saw his first film.
The Duelist. I've never seen it either.
Right. But he also did Blade Runner, Legend, Thelma and Louise, The Gladiator, but also Prometheus.
We did talk about Prometheus, yeah.
Alien Covenant as well. So, mostly hits, but a few misses. If you don't know, his films are typically visually striking, I would say, and feature heroines. It's kind of a theme in his stuff. He has a very detailed approach and very atmospheric. One thing about him is he uses this kind of slow pacing until you get to the action, right? Then it really ramps up, such as Blade Runner. Blade Runner, another one of your favorites, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's got two in a row right there.
Yep. He also claims to have a photographic memory. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, they call it eidetic or something like that. But yeah, no, so I'm sure that's a big help when he's visualizing things. So screenplay by Dan O'Bannon. He's a screenwriter, director, visual effects supervisor. He also is famous for writing and directing one of my favorites, Return of the Living Dead.
Yep.
We've talked about this before. Also worked on Star Wars as an animator, Heavy Metal, the animated movie, wrote some stories for that, and was writer also on Total Recall. Based on a story by Dan O'Bannon and another guy, Ronald Shusett, who was also a screenwriter for Above the Law, Total Recall, Free Jack, Emilio Estevez, and Mick Jagger. Yep. And Alien v Predator. So originally, Dan O'Bannon's first draft of this, you know what it was called?
Star Beast.
That was right. It was originally Memory, and then another working title after Memory was They Bite.
Oh,
and
I
then
didn't know that.
Then they changed it to Star Beast. And I don't know, Star Beast. I don't know if that would do it.
It fits for the original concept drawing of the alien because it's fucking ridiculous. Have you ever seen it? It's like a little like weird like blobby thing. Well, it's so stupid. It's bad.
Yeah, no, that's not good. It's not going to work. Great tagline for this movie. Remember that? In space, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah, and then the egg cracks. Yeah,
really good. Do you remember when this came out? No, you didn't. You were too young.
I was 3.
You were too young. I do. I absolutely 100% remember. I did not see this in the movie theater, but I remember the previews on the TV and the egg and and it was amazing. I couldn't wait to see it. I know I saw it on VHS. I didn't with my dad. My dad loved that kind of stuff. So it filmed over 14 weeks from July to October in 1978. So the principal photography was in Shepperton Studios in Surrey, England. And then some modeling and miniature filming at Bray Studios Down Place in Oakley Green. Not to be confused with Cabrini Green.
So Oakley Green is lovely this time of year.
It's Oakley Green. In Berkshire, England. In the Alien Egg Chamber, that was at Acton Lane Power Station in London.
Did you read about the lights in the Alien Egg Chamber?
I'm forgetting. I didn't write anything down.
So there's that scene where they find the egg chamber. It's got that mist, and Kane says it's like covered by a mist, but there's also that like blue light that goes across it. Yeah. It's like that weird, like almost like a force field. Like when he puts his hand in the mist, it like makes that wah, 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 wah noise.
Yep.
The Who was, I guess the Who was rehearsing for their big stadium tour of 1980 near, like right in those studios. They were using a movie studio. They lent the Alien production crew their lighting rigs to do that effect. So that's the Who's stage lighting rig that's making that blue laser beam look over the egg chamber.
Oh, that's cool. I don't recall reading that part. So Alien had 3 principal sets. The surface of the alien planetoid. Would you call it a moon?
It's a moon. Yeah.
I see moon and planetoid and different things. The interiors of the Nostromo and then the derelict spacecraft. There was some 1/24th scale miniatures of the planetoid and the spacecraft. Obviously, if you don't know, that design was based on H.R. Giger's designs. He's the Swiss artist that is so popular for this biomechanical, airbrushed imagery.
He's a fucking weirdo is what he is, man.
He's a fucking weirdo. So I've got a few covers here. Yeah. It's too bad we're not live. I could show these. So he also was commissioned for several albums. For those of you who don't know, albums were these big flat discs that came out when we were younger.
Everybody knows now. They're back. They're back.
Yeah, you're right. That was a stupid comment. So I think the most popular one that I know of is Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Brain Salad Surgery.
I too have a listing of albums. If you don't mention, I'll mention as well. But I did see that one and I knew it as soon as I saw it.
Yeah. You could tell these as soon as you see them. Danzig 3. The first one I said was kind of like a skull with a female face with some spikes and I don't know, very mechanical looking. This one is more of kind of like profile of some weird mouths and one in the middle and a snake. And then you got Deborah Harry, Cuckoo, which is her face with a bunch of spikes going through it. One of my favorites. Did you ever see the Dead Kennedys, Frankenchrist?
No.
Oh my God, I've got to show you this. It looks like a bunch of asses going across the screen, up and down, and then a bunch of dicks going into them.
Oh, good.
That's what it looks like. Steve Steven, Atomic Playboys. Boy, there's some other, if you want to mention some others.
Carcass, Heartwork is one of them. You mentioned the other ones, although you failed to you said Danzig 3.
Yeah.
You failed to mention Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill. That's the name of that. That's the name of that album. Ibanez Guitars made a series of Giger designed guitars at one point. Jonathan Davis of Korn had a mic stand made, and I've seen him.
I saw that too.
Yeah, I don't listen to Korn necessarily, but I've seen videos of them live, and I knew it had to be Giger it's like a woman, like an alien woman. He also worked on Alien 3. He designed the dog-bodied alien. The film Species, if you remember that thing, Syl the alien, he designed that. That was like his big comeback. Poltergeist 2, The Other Side, he did a bunch of work on that. This movie in particular, I don't know if you saw this picture or this piece of art, Master, the alien was heavily based on his piece of art called Necronom 4.
Yeah.
Which looks like the alien that we see in this movie, except with a cock for a head. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the head is phallic anyway, but like it's even more phallic in his art. And then there was one more sculpture I saw that was just very, I don't know, stark. Did you see the one called Birth Machine? That's like a revolver with a bunch of bullets that have babies in them.
I don't recall seeing that one.
This guy, I mean, he died in 2014. He needed to go see a psychiatrist more than anybody that I could think of. And then when you start paying attention, right? Because like his whole thing is biomechanical and everything's phallic. The alien's tongue is phallic. Even things I never even really I've seen this movie 100 times. When they get on the derelict ship, the ports that they go through look like pussies. Did you notice that? Like, I don't know how I never noticed that. Yep. But here are these giant vaginas that they're walking through.
Yep.
Yeah, this guy was sick. Sick fucker.
He's a sick fucker. One more thing I'll mention before we move on to the cast. So in that desert landscape I was talking about, the actors were wearing these big, hot, bulky, like nylon-lined spacesuits with no venting in them.
Yeah.
So they're practically passing out from like inhaling carbon monoxide, and combined with the heat, they were going through a heat wave at the time. These people were like passing out, so they had nurses in oxygen tanks just at the ready.
Yeah, and did you see that, like, to get scale on some of the shots of the space jockey, it's Ridley Scott's kids?
Yeah, it's smaller people. Yep,
smaller people.
Yeah, his own kids. Right?
His own kids and like one other person's kids. I don't know if it was John Hurt or somebody else.
Which is funny because if I recall, the space jockey ended up being the engineers in Prometheus, right?
And they're not that. Yeah, there's a size differential. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of playing with, like, you know, we made this 35 years later. We got to figure this out. That guy's the size of a dinosaur.
So that's it for production. What do you got for cast?
Hey, who the fuck are you? Huh? Who the fuck are you?
All right, top build. And you know what I'm going to do, because I'm such an Alien fan, and I have like a bunch of books on the making of Alien, is I'm going to give you the first names of these characters that are never mentioned as well. I looked them up because there were some that I didn't even know. So top build is Tom Skerritt. He plays Captain Dallas. Arthur Dallas, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, deep dive on the Arthur on that one. You know him from Top Gun. He was the sheriff in The Dead Zone. And he was on Cheers, if you remember. He was the guy that owned the corporation that bought Cheers, and Rebecca Howe was in love with him. Evan Drake.
As I was watching it this time, I'm like, damn, that's Evan Drake from Cheers. Now I got to watch Cheers.
Classic show. All right, so he's the captain. The executive officer on the ship is played by John Hurt. We're revisiting John Hurt from earlier in Anniversary April when he ended up with fucking rats in a cage on his head in 1984. Yeah. He plays Gilbert Kane. That's right, Gilbert Kane. Now, he was the first choice to play Kane. He could not do it because he was filming something in Africa. So they hired a gentleman named John Finch, a British actor, to play Kane. John Finch was apparently an undiagnosed but really bad diabetic, and he got really sick on his first day of shooting. So he quit. He went to the hospital and couldn't come back. And by the time they regrouped, they reoffered the part to John Hurt. And John Hurt, it's crazy because John Hurt is mostly known for being the chestburster guy, right? I mean, he's done a million things, but this is his thing. And actually, in one of the books I have, The Making of Alien, there's 2 pictures of John Finch as Kane in early scenes from the movie they filmed and they had to scrap. You know John Hurt from 1984. You know him from Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And on Doctor Who, he was the war doctor. He passed away a few years ago. Sigourney Weaver plays the warrant officer on the ship. The Nostromo, by the way, is the name of the ship. Ellen Ripley, we all knew that because they say it in Aliens. We just talked about her in Ghostbusters and how I'd fuck her in that. We never talked about her in Gorillas in the Mist. I've never seen that.
I didn't even mention it, but I wrote it down.
Never seen that one. And Copycat, serial killer film from the 90s. Veronica Cartwright plays Joan Lambert, who is the navigator. She's basically Veronica Cartwright in this film is like the crying woman who's always in danger. She's kind of like that role in a horror movie. The 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Right Stuff. And I never knew this about her, but she was a child actress and she was in like 28 episodes of Leave It to Beaver. And it looked like, from the name of the character, which I didn't write down, I think she was Whitey's sister.
Oh, wow.
So interesting. Yaphet Kotto, who we mentioned recently on Ghostbusters as almost having been Winston Zeddemore, plays Dennis Parker. He's the main engineer. We talked about him last year on our Truck Turner episode where he played Harvard Blue, the smoothest fucking pimp this side of fucking LA. We also talked about him over on our Patreon Nightmare on Elm Street series, when he starred in the awful Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. And he plays a guy with an Italian name in Lloyd's favorite show ever.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Homicide: Life in the Streets. Harry Dean Stanton, character actor, Hall of Fame, plays Samuel Brett, who is the engineer tech. You all know him from Pretty in Pink as the dad, Escape from New York as Brain, and Dream a Little Dream, one of Larry's favorite shows. And for Rich at 3FN Podcast, as you're listening to this episode, you guys just did an episode on this, and you pontificated that I was going to yell at you for your bad rating because you thought, oh, John must like that movie. I don't know if I've ever seen that movie, but Larry loves Dream a Little Dream. So thank you for covering that.
And Repo Man. Yeah.
Ian Holm plays Ash. No name other than Ash. I wonder why. It's because he's a fucking robot. He's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
He's the science officer and also the secret robot of the crew. You know him as one of the monks in The Fifth Element. He was Lord of the Rings. He was Bilbo Baggins and Brazil as well.
That's right. I was like, I know him from. I forgot that I knew him from Bilbo Baggins.
Yes, he was Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah.
And last but not least, you cannot have a movie called Alien and not credit the guy who played the alien. Balaji Bajo played the alien, 6'10", 7 feet in costume. His only film credit. He was found in a bar. I think it says here he was from Nigeria. Somebody in the crew found him and thought he'd be the perfect size to play this character. He died at 39 in 1992 of a sickle cell disease.
Ah, bummer.
Right after filming Alien, he moved back to Nigeria and opened an art gallery in 1983. So he did some more stuff, but unfortunately, he died way too early. But yeah, got to give credit where credit's due. Balaji Badejo.
No, I'm going to ask you here, and it's probably stupid to ask because I don't know the answer. So I shouldn't ask you a question I don't know the answer to. But I do remember reading that one of the actors, maybe not one of these actors, but another actor wanted to play the alien.
Oh, that I don't know. That right. I can't. We'll leave it in there. Maybe a listener will know, but that I don't know. Maybe it was Jean-Claude Van Damme. Maybe.
It might have been.
Yeah, maybe he got fired from playing a predator and an alien.
I can't play a predator, but maybe I can play an alien.
I can kick. Does the alien need to kick? I can kick real high. I can when I get Jones the cat in the hallway, I will do a split, and then I will kick Captain Dallas in his fucking face. And Ridley Scott's just like, get the fuck out of here, you fucking weirdo. All right, so we are years in the future, and we have the Nostromo, which is pretty much a tow truck. It's a 18-wheeler, right?
Yeah.
And it's out in deep space, okay? And it is towing this, it looks like a city or something, but it's a refinery of some sort, like a mining facility.
Yeah, they were ore mining.
Now I gotta give credit where credit's due. One of the greatest title sequences of all time, where just the letters start to come together slowly and the music is and it's all very calm. This whole first fucking hour of this movie is fairly calm for the most part, or at least 45 minutes. So we end up in the hallway of this ship and we start to see it doesn't look, it's not like pristine, like, some futuristic science fiction things present. It looks lived in, right, Lloyd?
Like I Am Mother, remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that copied Alien quite a bit.
Yes, it did.
But that looked way more pristine than this one does.
So we go down a couple hallways, and we see different spots of this ship, and we end up in the con, and we see a helmet on a pedestal, and all of a sudden we get like these little alarms going off, and
Very
cool.
cool.
We see, what do we see in the reflection of the helmet, Lloyd?
The reflection of the helmet, we see what's on the screen in front of the helmet. Just a whole bunch of shit going on. That's when they were going to wake up, right?
Right. So all of a sudden they're getting a message that's coming in.
Yeah.
And then we kind of float down the hallway and we end up in this pristine white room with this, I don't know, star-shaped piece of machinery where all the crew members are basically, they're Betty by. It's sleepy time. Whatever has happened on the bridge has awoken them.
Right.
So they kind of all get up and we get John Hurt right away. I don't, again, not that I've ever noticed this before, but it's kind of funny that John Hurt is the first one they focus on waking up and he's the first one to die. Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed, but the score, we didn't even mention, was it Jerry Goldsmith?
Yeah.
Did the score for this. And it's so great. The music throughout this is fantastic.
Oh, the score is fucking great.
And especially during this scene when the, what would you call them, windows or the hatches open up and you've got that light music in the background and John Hurt's waking up and he's like, it's almost like a ballet. It's kind of weird, but it's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. We end up in a mess hall where everybody's kind of sitting around and we kind of learn really quickly the personalities of everybody. We got the captain, Tom Skerritt, he's in charge. And we particularly kind of learned the personalities of the engineers, Parker and Brett. Yeah. What are they all about, man?
They're just all about the money and the credits and the bonuses. And I ain't doing nothing if, I ain't getting paid for it.
Yeah. Now I've seen this movie a trillion times and you have too, but I don't know what it was like to see it for the first time myself because I was a kid, and I don't know what it was like to see it for the first time in 1979. But do you feel that they're not really trying to let you know that Ash, something is off with him right off the bat? Do you notice the looks and everything? And
there's lots of glances throughout the whole thing to Ash. His observing, people and reactions to things. And yeah, the more you watch it, the way more obvious it is.
There's that one scene I always found was weird. And I wonder if it was like him, like his body doing something to as almost like a diagnostic, but like that scene that's coming up in a little bit where they're about to watch them walk to the derelict ship. Yeah. And he zips up his jacket and he just stands there for a second. And then he does like this quick little run in place.
Yeah. I recall. Yeah.
Moves his arm really quick. It's like when you watch it back.
Is he like recalibrating or something? I don't know.
Exactly. Did he notice like his mechanics were off or something? It's, and then also if you pay attention when they're eating, he's not eating, but he's always drinking that white stuff.
Yeah. He's drinking milk all the time,
which we think is milk, I guess.
We assume is milk.
Yeah. So we kind of learn all about like these guys, and now we find out why they were woken up. They were woken up because, which plot-wise, I get it. I get that we know as Alien goes along, the franchise that they work for Weyland-Yutani, and it's a bad company, and they have nefarious ideas. But it seems to me to be weird to stop a tow truck driver to ever check out what they determine is a SOS signal, right? They're saying on the planet that they're closest to, there's an SOS signal. And do you remember, Manster, how far away from home they are months wise?
Oh shit. I know they're 10 months on the way back.
So they're 10. Yeah, they're 10.
Okay.
They get woken up and they don't know that they're not home. They think they're like almost in port.
Right. Oh, before you go on, they never say Wayland Yutani, right?
They never say, yeah, Wayland Yutani, they never say it in this.
They never say it in this one. Okay.
No, I don't even think they say it in Aliens. I think that's later. They call it the company all the time.
Right. Okay.
So they've stopped, and the computer has told them that every 12 seconds there is a beacon, which they are thinking is an SOS call, and they have to check it out because that is part of their I guess their itinerary or their rules is they have to check this out. Nobody wants to go.
You're a tugboat, but that's the rule. You got to check out things way more important than you.
And Dallas is very clear about it. I just do what they tell me to do. And Ash is very clear about, like, at one point, Parker and Brett are like, we're not doing this. And then Ash, because he's a robot, Ash is a goddamn robot.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
He calls up like fucking like John 3:16 from the Bible, the Wayland Yutani Bible, and he's like, no, if you don't go, or if you don't do your duty, total forfeiture of your share. And they're like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
So
right. No problem after that.
Yeah. So they kind of they orbit this planetoid, and they decide that they're going to go down to the surface. They undock from their trillions of dollars of ore, which seems crazy, just leaving it right there. Right? Don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Space pirates. I don't know if that's a thing. Manster, how does their journey to the planet go?
Space jockeys, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they have a little bit of a rough landing.
Slightly.
I don't really quite know why, but maybe it's the atmosphere or something. But they do have a rough landing. And so who ends up going to the planet? Dallas, Kane, and Lambert. Yeah. Crybaby Lambert.
Bring this. I hate to say this and sound mean, but bring the woman that's afraid of everything,
right?
With you. Leave. I know you have to leave Parker and Brett because they can fix the ship, and I know you want to leave like Ripley because she's in charge after Kane and Dallas. But like, I don't know. Bring Ash. He's the science guy. Like, you don't know he's a robot, but hey, he can fend for himself.
Hey, speaking of Ripley, we probably talked about this before, but what is a warrant officer's purpose?
I don't know.
To make sure everything's running by the books. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I truly don't know. Flint was the warrant officer in G.I. Joe, and even as a kid, I looked at that and go, I don't know what that. I'm like, I played with my G.I. Joes, and I knew that Rock and Roll was a machine gunner.
Yeah,
that makes sense to me. You know what Rock and Roll does? He shoots shit with his machine gun. I knew that Snake Eyes was a commando. I know what that is. He's like a silent fucking like warrior. I knew that Firefly was a saboteur. Flint was a warrant officer.
A warrant. Just couldn't write warrants.
I'm sure right now G.I. Gary is freaking out and going, it's clear. When there's I don't know, like fucking goods on a ship, you need a warrant officer to disload them or unload them, or I don't know. I don't know what the fuck it is.
I just heard Gary's voice in your explanation.
Getting mad at me. I will, when this episode comes out, I guarantee it, I'm going to get a text from Gary saying Flint's what a warrant officer does. Which, hey, we'll share it with you after this.
We will. We love you, Gary.
We love you, Gary. All right, so they decide they're going to go to the surface. Meanwhile, on the ship, Brett and Parker are trying to fix the problems they had. By the way, we talked about H.R. Giger, which is fair because he did all of the space jockey stuff, the space jockey ship, the derelict as they call it, the horseshoe, the thing that ran over Charlize Theron in Prometheus, or one of the things like that, and the alien. But we got to talk a little bit about Ron Cobb, who is a concept artist. He is the guy who designed the Nostromo. He was the production designer on Conan the Barbarian, The Last Starfighter, The Running Man, but he is the guy who did the stuff that wasn't like vaginas and dicks and aliens. he did the practical ship stuff, so that's Ron Cobb for you. So they go, Manster, and they take this hike, and the planet looks very foggy and nasty, and it's breathable but not totally breathable. They have to wear their suits. They get to the derelict ship, which is shaped like a giant horseshoe, kind of. They go in through one of its pussies, and
Speaking of the horseshoe, did you notice? Well, there was a few scenes, but most of the scenes they're watching it is through like video monitors.
Yes.
And it gave it a really cool look because I guess I was watching one of the featurettes and Ridley Scott was doing a commentary and he talked about the reason they did that. It just looked way cooler that way. It looked better. It was more the aesthetic that he was going for. So
yeah, well, because
they showed it mostly through there.
Because I think the original's a matte painting, right? Like,
yeah.
So probably, they probably made a little model and just put it through that monitor.
Yep.
So they end up going through. They go in. And what do they find? What's the space jockey all about?
Well, they find this space jockey. So you don't really, right away, you don't really see it. But, it's just this big creature sitting in a curved chair with, what's in front of him?
It looks like a cannon, but I think
it looks like a cannon. Yeah, that's what I always thought it was. But as you look closer, you can see like his ribs and a big hole bursting right through the ribs.
That chestburster must have been big.
Yeah, right. And
yeah.
And you're not supposed to know then what it was, but I think maybe you're supposed to think that's part of the alien race or something. You don't really understand yet any of that yet.
So as they're checking all this stuff out, Kane is kind of looking down into this little bit of a pit. He crawls over and he falls into a pit. So that they want to try to get him back up again, but he falls into like this field of fucking things. Eggs, Manster.
Right. Which, by the way, if you didn't know, is not part of the ship.
Oh, it's not in the ship?
It's not part of the ship. It's part of the planetoid. It's part of the moon. So, yeah, there's a ancient structure. It is like it's on an ancient structure. And when it crashed, it opened up like that chamber.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. All right. Yep. Learning something new every day here on the Pint.
Right.
So he starts walking through and there's all these like leathery eggs. And he's investigating them. Now, if you ever see the director's cut, I watched the original theatrical cut for this, but I've watched the director's cut many times.
Yeah.
At one point, you could actually, when he's looking at the egg, he holds up his gun because before they go out, there is a comment they say in the regular version about like, get your weaponry. They never show them with guns in this. It's flamethrowers or cattle prods. But at one point, Kane is holding his laser pistol. You don't see that in this version. But he decides to fuck around and find out, which I'm not doing. Like these giant eggs. Here's where I'm definitely not doing it. I see a bunch of giant eggs, which eggs have stuff in them, right? That's just the way eggs work.
So, yeah, what is rule number 1 of being on a planetoid with a foreign massive egg?
Here's rule number 1. I'm not fucking with it in any way, shape, or form. But rule number 1, addendum A, is when I shine a light on it and something squiggles around on the inside, I'm done. I'm just going to go back and go, hey guys, there's some fucking eggs down here. They're filled with shit. Get me out of here. But he does the opposite.
Don't hover over it and look inside.
He hovers over it and looks inside. Something I've always noticed, and I got an answer on this researching it. Did you notice that right before he hovers over the egg, there's a real close-up of the egg, and the water is dripping off the egg upwards? Have you ever noticed that?
Maybe I have, but I've
always
I don't
noticed
recall. That. I don't really remember right now.
They filmed the eggs in certain scenes hung upside down. What the reasoning was, I don't remember. I didn't write it down, but it made sense to me. Because if you look at that scene, the egg is right side up, but the droplets of water are coming off of it going up. And the reason is because it's actually filmed upside down.
Okay.
Sticks his head over this thing, and it makes a fucking sound. It just splurps open.
You can see through it, too. It's, a little translucent. You can see gross. Something in there. Fucking get away.
It splurps open.
Splurps.
It splurps. And then on the top of this thing, there's a raw fucking liver or some shit. In reality, it was a bunch of cow and pig guts that Ridley Scott went and had someone get and put in there. Later on, we'll talk about it in a minute, but later on, when they do the little autopsy on the Facehugger, it's all seafood.
Oh, I know. I love it. It looks so real, so fucking real.
It does. And they said it was so gross because they didn't refrigerate it. They kept using it, and it was like clams and mussels and fucking
oysters, yeah.
Starfish pussies. It was all gross. So he puts his head over this thing, and all of a sudden it just fucking explodes on his face. It was a pneumatic fucking air cannon in there that they blew off. That's what shoots all the guts out at him. And then we just see this face hugger hit his face mask, and that's it. Now we have the three of them back at the Nostromo, and they're trying to get in, but who doesn't want to let them in, and why?
Yeah, no. Well, Ripley wants to, you got quarantine rules and you can't come in, We don't know what you have. You're obviously infected with something. You bring it inside, you're going to affect the whole crew. So no, you can't come in. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in.
She's the only rational one on this fucking ship.
Yeah.
Like Ash's response when he does open the door makes sense because he only wants the alien. But like even Dallas, who's the captain, who you think, I mean, I know that he loves his people as much as a captain can, but like he should rationally be like, no, you're right. Like we have to sit out here until something happens or he dies or that thing crawls away. But they're all like, let us in, motherfucker. Lambert's freaking the fuck out in a deleted scene. So Ash opens the door, lets them in. And then we kind of get the scene right away where Ash and Dallas are kind of inspecting this face hugger thing on Kane. In the movie, we actually have a scene where Ripley and Parker and Brett are watching from outside, and Lambert's there. In a deleted scene that's in the director's cut, when Lambert comes in, she fucking pops Ripley in the face.
Yeah, I actually watched both. I watched this twice, once earlier in the weekend, once like this weekend, and I watched both versions. So now I'm getting them mixed up in my head.
Yeah. So that's the director's cut where she pops her in the face. So, Manster, describe this fucking face hugger thing, man. What's going on?
Oh my God, it's so great. It might be one of the best designs ever in a movie.
It is.
It looks so real. It's so slimy. To me, there's nothing fake looking about it. So Kane is laying in the infirmary, whatever, on his back with this thing over his face. And it's literally like a hand. It looks like a hand with, I don't know how many digits it has, but right over the front of his face with some kind of proboscis, which you can't actually see down his throat.
I saw you were going to say dick.
No,
I saw you were about to form a D. It was a dick. That thing's got a cock down his throat.
Cock down his throat, feeding him oxygen, and then a tail completely wrapped around his neck. So as they try to, and it's the fingers are long and they have the knuckles and it's shiny and sort of glistening, and oh man, it just looks so good.
They were originally going to paint it brown, and I think Dan O'Bannon came to the set and saw the unpainted version and said that just keep it like that.
Yeah,
like he talked Ridley Scott into it, and it that yellowish color.
Yep.
It just looks better because it's all clammy as fuck. Like
very clammy.
Yeah, it's clammy. It's got its fingers around your head and its dick down your throat. What a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you try, they try and pull it off, and as soon as they touch it or anything, the tail just tightens around the neck. So they're like, all right, hold on, let's cool our jets. Let's go watch the scan of this thing, see what's going on, and then come up with a new plan. And then they try to laser cut it.
Right under a knuckle. What happens, man?
Right under a knuckle. And it's a great scene. I did not read anything about the acid or how they film that, so they go to cut it. Ash goes to cut it and it ejects a fluid, an acid blood that just drips down, immediately goes through the floor, and it's just going through the hull and through all the levels of the Nostromo.
The acid blood was a necessity, and I can't credit who came up with the idea for it, which writer or who it was, whether it was Ridley Scott, because the original thought was, well, okay, you're on this ship with this thing, just fucking shoot it. Just shoot it. They had to come up with something where shooting it wasn't really an option, and fucking acid blood is about the fucking craziest fucking concept on Earth. And you're right, it goes through like 3 decks before it starts to slow down.
And then Yaphet Kotto has the very nice expositional line, "Oh, what a great self-defense mechanism. Don't dare kill it."
Yeah, he throws it in there. He'll also have the great line later on of he's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
After he knocks his head half off
with a fire extinguisher. So we can't cut it off. We can't take it off. So they go and they kind of commiserate as to what they're going to do. We got to figure out, are we going to like freeze them? Are we going to try to go back to Earth? And as they're trying to figure all this out, Ripley also, by the way, is like to Dallas. Now, it's not in either director's cut or the regular version, but in a scripted version, it's alluded to that Dallas is fucking deep boning Ripley. And that's kind of why they have a little bit of a closer relationship, that he's given her all that scarret.
Ridley Scott talks about that in the commentary. And he said, yeah, we were going to explore this thing, but it was so much better without it. And I 100% agree.
This movie,
any of the bullshit in this.
No, because you know what this movie does really well is, yes, it is slow paced to begin with, but then when it gets going, it gets going. And then when it gets going, it goes out. This is not a long movie. This is, pretty compact. It doesn't feel overly long.
Right.
I do know that I've heard people before say, oh, the first like 40 minutes are so slow. I love this movie, so I'm not going to say that, but I can see that. Yes, it does have a lot of setup. But once you get into the alien stuff, boom, 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 it just moves. It moves so fucking quick. Ash calls Dallas back up to sickbay and is like, you gotta come see Kane. I'm not explaining to you, just come down. Comes down and he's fucking, the thing is gone. The facehugger's gone. We get a great little scene where Ridley Scott, Kane, or I'm sorry, Dallas and Ash are looking for the facehugger in that room. It eventually falls down from out of like a little ceiling area, lands on Ridley Scott,
on Ripley,
on Ripley, and that's where we get the little bit of the fucking.
What's with those little light sticks they were using?
And they're cool.
What?
It
is cool, but shit. I'd prefer like a fucking see as much as I can.
Yeah. Stick a colonoscopy camera up that thing's asshole. Like, wow, look at this thing's asshole. That's nice. So they determine, okay, Kane's still in a coma. Now the thing's off of him. Let's figure out what to do. And before they know what to do, Ash calls Dallas up again. He's like, come down, Kane again. It's Kane again.
It's best if you come here. I can't explain it. And Kane is fucking awake. He's sitting up on a fucking on a table. He's like rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah.
I love the description.
He's hungry.
Like, he's hungry, but they ask him like, "What do you remember the surface?" And he's like, "I don't remember nothing." Like, what do you remember? And he's just like, a terrible dream about smothering. That's the line is scary, right? Because I mean, he doesn't know it, but he was getting face raped for like 2 days.
Oh, a little sidebar. I had the worst dream of my life, my whole entire life last night.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh, it was the worst fucking thing. You were not in it, but you were tangential to it somehow.
Well, that makes me sad.
No, I can't even explain it other than I'll tell you this. As I was in the dream, I knew I was in the dream, and I just kept saying, all right, I just got to get out of this. And every time I thought I was out of it and awake, I was not out of it. And at the end of the dream, I was fucking screaming, just get me out of this fucking dream right now.
Every time you think you're out, it pulls you back. It's the Godfather 3 dream.
It was by far the worst dream I've ever had.
Ugh, I've had a few of those. They're nightmares, man. Oh, I didn't even mean that. That was cool. they are nightmares, man.
All right, back to the smothering.
Yeah. Let's go to dreams real quick for a second because you brought that up. I want to bring this up. My friend Mike Wilder, who I love greatly, like a brother, he died in 2011, and he had heart issues and he passed away. And I missed him, man. I still miss him to this day. I love that guy. And like when anybody dies in your life, you miss them and they're gone, and you feel like there's unspoken things. I had a dream probably about 3 or 4 years after he died, where it was just this weird dream where it was like me and him, and we were either outside, I think we were outdoors, and we saw each other, and I was like, oh, I was relieved. I remember feeling relieved in the dream that he was there. And I remember saying, Mike, like, I can't believe you're here. And he didn't say a word to me, but we hugged.
Oh.
We hugged in the dream. And I woke up crying, and I woke up feeling like, and I'm not the person to ever say like I believe in this stuff, but I felt like he truly came to me in a dream.
Wow,
Like
that's amazing.
It was so amazing. It was so heavy. So on the inverse of what you're saying, because I've had dreams like that bad too. I think it's amazing when you have these dreams that are so good. But like to this day, I think about that dream and I feel like my feelings of him being gone after that were never as harsh as they were as before, because I felt like he came to me just to say, I'm okay. Like, you can live your life and miss me, but you don't have to worry about me. Yeah. It was so fucking real. All right, well, back to
if that ever happens with us, I'll come to you in a dream as well.
Okay, I will come to you. It's like, this is like Last of the Mohicans. I'm like fucking Daniel Day-Lewis. No matter where you are, I shall find you.
Yes.
All right. That was the gayest moment in show history.
Right.
So
next week we'll be rating men.
We probably will. All right. So Kane is awake and he's like, they're going to go back in the freezers for 10 months. They've done their job. But he's like, I'm fucking hungry. So they
famished.
Go and I'm famished.
Some long stringy stuff and with my hands and put it in there.
It's the worst spaghetti on earth. So that's such a sad last meal. So they go and they're
like hearts of palm. It's not even spaghetti.
It doesn't look good. So they sit down and they start to, everybody's commiserating and joking and they're going to have a good time. And Kane's fucking putting this fucking spaghetti, fucking almost spaghetti on his plate and he's eating it. And everybody's joking. But if you pay attention to Kane, it just looks like he's starting to choke, right?
Right. And if you pay attention to Ash, he's very closely watching him.
Yes, he is like watching like a hawk. Like he knows what's going to happen. So this scene has been talked about a lot. Empire magazine in 2007 gave it the greatest 18 rated, which I'm assuming is R rated in England, moment in film. And IGN ranked this scene as the 10th of 100 best moments in movie moments ever. So there's a lot to be said about this scene, the chestburster scene. And one of them is a lot of people say nobody knew it was coming. That's not necessarily true. They knew that he was going to be giving birth to an alien. They knew that it was going to be coming out of his chest. They knew all of that stuff. So Kane starts flailing around and all that's happening. What they didn't know is when they shot off the first blood squib, which blasts particularly Veronica Cartwright in the face. Their initial reaction when that first blood spurt happens is real. Yeah. And that is one of the greatest moments in movie history because he's freaking out, right? Now, everybody remembers that when the chestburster comes out of him. But before the chestburster comes out, it does one like punch through that it doesn't come all the way through. And that scene is fucking chilling because he's flailing about. And then all of a sudden they think he's choking or seizuring. Then all of a sudden his chest explodes outward and they all stop.
Yeah, they all stop. Yep.
They stop and just stare at him because while this is happening, they're trying to restrain him. Parker is trying to put a spoon in his mouth so he doesn't like bite his tongue off. Like they're all trying to do what you would do to a dude that's choking, I guess, but when that punch happens, they all just stop.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that was just like fucking normal, right?
Yeah.
That's just reaction.
Yeah. That's them reacting to this.
Yeah.
So then the chestburster comes out and it looks like a little fucking bloody tailed dick.
Let's just say that is the realest looking, like the way he's writhing on there. The camera changes angles to the side. So now you see him instead of in front, you see him from the side. His tongue is going out, his whole body is writhing. Like we talked about that in 1984. Yeah. What an amazing physical actor.
Well, when he's dead, when the chestburster comes out and he's dead, his hands are fucking trembling.
Yeah.
Like he's like having body quivers and shit.
And it was pretty amazing. I paused that scene like every millisecond that I could. That is filmed so well because his body is under there and it's his shoulders and like neck and head are sticking out of the table and the rest of that body is just a mechanical body.
Yeah.
But it's filmed so perfectly you can't even for a millisecond detect anything like it doesn't look real.
No, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's bathing in his blood, wallowing around, Parker 150% can stab it and kill it. And if you didn't think Ash was the bad guy to this point, he stops him. He gets in front of it and says, don't. And then at this point, the alien runs away. The way the alien runs away is the alien is on like a stick, right? It's on a stick. And
it's kind of amusing.
It's totally amusing.
Yeah.
It's on a stick. There's a slot cut out in the table, and they just pull it from under the table to run across. And there's an airline whipping its tail around. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal.
There you go.
So Kane is dead. We have his funeral. They wrapped him up like a mummy. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
One more thing I wanted to say. The cast knew something was going to happen, but didn't know exactly what was going to happen. And so from what I read, Sigourney Weaver actually thought John Hurt was like physically dying.
Oh, Jesus.
But wouldn't stayed in character because no one said cut. And the best one was Yaphet Kotto said he went home that night in a state of shock and locked himself in his bathroom for 4 hours.
Yeah, the guy's like a linebacker.
Right.
He's a fucking Chuck Turner, and he's afraid of this thing.
Yeah, he's in Live and Let Die.
So he is. So they have like a little funeral for Kane. I think this scene is kind of funny because they have him wrapped up like a mummy and they put him in like a loading dock, and then they open the air hatch and he fucking shoots out like a fucking John Elway football.
Yeah.
It's not like the scene where like he floats out into space. They open that thing and it's like, whoop, and he just goes flying. But now they have to go look for this thing, right? So they split up into groups. The first group that goes together is Ripley, Brett, and Parker. And they're using these machines that are like little micro density in the air changes. If that's what it's looking for. So they're going through like the lower sections of the Nostromo. They get a reading in a locker master, but what's in the locker when they open the door?
I don't know how this could possibly happen that a cat would be behind a closed locker door, but
yeah, I don't know why the cat's on the ship, period, to be honest with you.
Right. They never explain it. Doesn't need to be explained, but he's always with them. So it's cat, Jonesy the cat.
Jonesy the cat.
And of course they freak out because, you got that little jump scare moment and the cat runs away and everybody's mad at Brett because Brett didn't capture it with the net.
Well, it makes sense. So he's like, right. Well, it's just the cat. And Ripley and Parker are like, yeah, but we're going to keep, this is going to happen like 9 more. This cat is going to get into 9 more closed lockers.
Right.
Like it's going to keep happening. So they tell him, they're like, go fucking find the cat.
Yeah.
Right?
And the worst decision ever, right? Like, would they really do that?
Yeah. Go by yourself.
You go by yourself with the scary alien around and we'll stick together here.
Now here's where I have some questions about
there's some questionable
about the Nostromo.
Yeah.
Question number 1. The room where it's raining. What the fuck is that? I love this movie. I don't know what that room is. Is it an engine room? What is it?
I don't know. I call it the Hellraiser room.
It is. Jesus wept.
Right. Because there's chains with hooks off of the ceiling and there's a pillar in the middle and there's dead bodies swinging around it. So that's.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
No. So what I read or I heard, maybe it was Ripley Scott talking on the commentary, but he had, because just like you and I, the executives had this question: where is the water and the rain coming from?
Right.
And all he had to say was condensation.
And
they're like, okay.
I mean, it's atmospheric. It is awesome. I'm not complaining, but I've always kind of wondered. And it also seems like there's a big piece of machinery in the middle of the room. Like, is that the engine? Is that like
is at the core?
What is it? So he finds Jones.
It's the torture dungeon.
It's the Hellraiser room. I like that.
Yeah.
Before he finds Jones, though, he puts his hand in the alien's fucking shedded baby skin. And right off the bat, right there, I'd be like, well, this is the alien's fucking skin.
It's molting.
It's molting. But he just kind of...
What's coming next?
He just kind of like dismisses it. Finds Jones tucked into a corner. And as he's going to get Jones, Jones looks beyond him and hisses. Now, movie magic. Did you read how they got him to hiss?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, it wasn't the alien. It wasn't like the guy in the alien suit. It wasn't that. they had a German Shepherd behind a piece of plexiglass, behind muzzled behind Harry Dean Stanton. So
Okay.
they move the I guess the cover off of the glass. The cat sees the German Shepherd. I don't know if you know this, Mister. Cats hate dogs and vice versa.
Hate German Shepherds, yeah.
Yeah. So he starts to scream. Now in the movie, what's happening is the alien is unfurling itself behind Brett. As Brett turns around, he just looks up because this thing's 7 feet tall.
Yeah. Did you ever question how something like maybe a foot tall with no food turns into something 7 feet tall? And
I never really questioned that because it's got acid for blood. So right off the bat, we're in fantasy land.
Okay. All right.
But he turns around, and this is the first instance that we ever see the head mechanism and the tongue. This was designed by Carlo Rimbaldi. Now, it was an H.R. Giger design, but the mechanics of the head, all of them, by movie legend Carlo Rimbaldi, who worked on the 1976 King Kong. He designed King Kong, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He designed E-fucking-T. He designed the Dagoth from Conan the Destroyer. This guy was a longtime pro. He designed the mechanics of the tongue and the head. The lips of the alien were pieces of condom. 900 moving pieces and parts in that fucking thing. It's like a clock almost, like crazy. So Brett looks up and this thing is just fucking drooling.
He's just looking up in wonder and awe.
Yeah. Like what
it's like you're going to put your hands up and fight it.
What is this thing going to do to me? So it tongue blasts him. First time we see that classic piece of cinema history.
I love the tongue blast.
And then we kind of see Brett screams and he kind of pulls him up into the rafters. In the director's cut, a couple things that are different. First off, when Brett enters the room at one point, you could see the alien hanging in the chains. It's actually hanging above him, like in a long shot. So you know it's there. You see it pull him into the rafters all the way to the point where Parker and Ripley run into the room. Because in the next scene where they're describing the alien to Dallas, they're describing it. And they're like, he's definitely dead. And it pulled him up into the shaft. But you don't see them see that. In the director's cut, they see all of that happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's what happened there. So now Dallas decides, okay, we got to figure out how to get this fucking thing. I think it's using the air shafts on the Nostromo to get from one spot to another because we're not detecting it any other way. So I'm going to go in the air shaft. And you guys are going to use your little scanner things, and you're going to tell me how to pinpoint where this thing is. Terrible fucking idea.
Right. And then they close off the little apertures between the shafts. And
I love
try
that.
to isolate it. Yeah.
That metal on metal, that sound of those doors shutting. So he goes in and he's like, okay, well, let's see how the fuck this works. It doesn't work well. It introduces us to what I think is one of the scariest scenes of all time. One of the greatest jump scares of all time. So he's going through and he's starting to get nervous. At one point when things are going wonky, he's like, get me out of here. Yep. He goes down a level.
He's safe where he was because he was in a different level of the shaft.
He was at a different level. They're telling him it looks like it's going towards you, but they're not accounting for the fact that there's multiple levels.
Yeah.
He blasts the flamethrower down the shaft, but then he goes down the ladder. He stops to get his bearings. He turns around and the fucking alien is crouched in a corner and just opens its fucking arms and screams at him. So now we have fucking Parker comes back with the flamethrower that Dallas had, puts it down. And he's like, we couldn't find him. This is all we found. So we're getting the 10 Little Indians bit of this story where everybody's like dying here and there. Ripley, who is now in charge, decides to go and talk to Mother. Mother is the 80s computer of the Nostromo. At one point, it told Dallas what his odds are.
Lambert cries and wants to just bail out, right?
She wants to bail out. Yeah, she's crying.
There's only it can only fit 4 in the shuttle.
3, right? 3 in the shuttle.
3? Okay.
Right. Because there's 4 of them left, and they don't know Ash is a fucking android at this point. Ash is a goddamn robot.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
They don't know that.
They don't know that yet.
So they decide, okay, we're gonna figure out what's going on. So Ripley goes into the Mother room which it looks like somebody from the 70s thought, what would a computer look like in 2179?
Hashtag 80s computer again.
That's what I said. I said, this is 80s computer all the way.
Yeah.
Hashtag 80s computer. This is another scene that I love because it's like, how did he get in there? But it's a great scene. So she's talking to Mother. She has access now. You know, what's going on with this fucking thing? And there's a special order to Science Division. Manster, essentially, what does the special order say?
The special order basically says life form detected. You must bring this life form back at all costs. Everything else is secondary. Crew is expendable.
As soon as she sees crew is expendable, she leans back and fucking Ash is sitting next to her.
Right there.
In a sealed room somehow, but he's right there. He basically says to her, you don't really know the whole story. And she gets up and they end up in a scuffle.
He's sweating milk.
Sweating bullets. So they get into a scuffle, and he now shows his full android strength.
Yes.
At one point, she grabs him and he grabs her by the hair, and she fucking like moves her head, and he just gets a fucking tuft of her hair in his hand.
Yeah, he's got a handful of hair.
He throws her across the room multiple times, and then in what I think is the weirdest murder of all time, he tightly rolls up a fucking skin magazine.
Yeah.
And he just puts it over her mouth, but like
jams it into her open mouth.
Yeah, he's just like choking her to death. Now, Lambert and Parker come to save the day, but in another feat of strength, Parker, who we mentioned, Yafet Koto, looks like a linebacker, as he's choking Ripley to death. What does he do, Manster?
He reaches over. It's the slow grab, and he grabs Yafet Koto's ample chest. It just fucking digs in with his robot hands. and Yafet's like, "What the fuck?"
He's screaming because he's crushing him. Parker manages to get his hands on a fire extinguisher, and he knocks fucking Ash in the head. Yeah. And as he knocks Ash in the head, Ash's head rips off of its body and is hanging there.
It's hanging on his back, right?
On his back. There's all little bulbs and milk is shooting everywhere. And in what is clearly a piece of ADR dialogue to clue the audience in, who probably still didn't get it at this point, Yafet Koto, as Parker says, he's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
I love this movie, but it's so clearly added in afterwards. So everything's funny. Everything's calmed down.
His reaction, the robot, Ash's like twitches and the way he was reacting to his head being knocked off was fantastic.
Oh, it was great.
That wasn't Ian Holm. That was different actor.
No, that had to be somebody.
Yeah.
It had to be somebody with a cattle prod up his asshole the way he was moving.
Right, for real.
So Ripley decides to hook the head up to some batteries and electrical shit so she could talk to it. And we get it's great still, but we get a very clear like cut scene from the fakeness of
a little degradation there.
Yeah, of the dummy head to Ian Holmes' head. And they have a conversation, and she's like, how do we kill it? And he's like, you don't kill it, bitch. He's like, you are going to get killed by it. It's perfect organism. He's like, I admire its purity. Yeah, is what he says. And you could kind of see in his face, like, almost like, I always take it as like that Pinocchio thing, like the boy who wishes or the robot that wishes he was a boy, the wooden boy who wishes he was a real boy. Because he's just like, I admire its purity. You're not going to kill it. It's going to kill you. And that's really it. Yeah. There's 3 of us left. Let's go. We're going to nuke the ship and then we're going to go together. So as they're about to leave, as you said, Parker comes back in and fucking incinerates it. It's now the dummy head, obviously, and all the skin melts off to what looks like a mannequin head, which makes me wonder how is its mouth opening or anything, but okay, it's fine. It's fine.
It's okay.
So Ripley says, here's what we're going to do. You two are going to go down and get all these tanks of coolant for the Narcissus, which is the shuttle. I'm going to go and I'm going to set the ship to self-destruct. The way the ship self-destructs in this is she essentially disables all the cooling to the engines, and it's just going to overheat and explode.
All right, yeah.
So she goes to do that. But as she's doing that, Manster, what does she suddenly realize? She hears over the sound, the loudspeaker, that she doesn't have with her.
Oh, I think she needs to go get her Jonesy cat.
Jones, this fucking cat.
Fuck that cat.
Yeah,
I'm a cat guy, but fuck that cat.
Yeah, man. Echo's right below me right now as I record, and I don't know, man. I love the fuck out of him, but there's at least a 2% chance that part of me would be like, fuck that guy. I feel terrible saying that. I would come for you, Echo. I would certainly come for you, but
I would come for you.
You see, I will find you, Echo. Another gay moment. All right. So, did you find it weird? So, because again, I don't know if I've ever thought about this before watching this movie. Did you find it weird that as Parker and Lambert are getting the shit together, especially Lambert, they're being as loud as possible. She's throwing all these cylinders and making so much fucking racket that it's not a surprise that the alien comes to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
So as they're doing all this, the alien shows up in the room. Now, in the director's cut, Master, I don't know if you saw this part or not. The alien crab walks towards Lambert. Did you see that scene?
I did see it. I'm trying to remember it.
It's good that they got rid of it because it's kind of goofy looking. But that's how she sees the alien. Much like Jaws, and not because the alien wasn't working as Jaws, because the alien looked good. But I think Ridley Scott made a good choice of cutting down the amount of times we see the alien, especially this crab walk scene. It's cool and it's bizarre, but it kind of like gives you too much. So we see Lambert, and she gets cornered by this thing, and we never really see the alien. We just kind of see everything in shadow, and Parker notices it, and he's got the flamethrower, which is not a very not a very precise weapon. So he's telling Lambert, you gotta fucking move, and she's not moving because she's like frozen in fear. He goes to go attack the alien fucking spins and whips him right in the fucking cock with his fucking tail, knocks him across the fucking room.
Yeah.
The alien now puts all of its efforts towards Parker, jacks Parker up against the wall, and is squeezing his head like with its hands. And I had the sense of mind of something I've never done before, but I did what you and Larry do. I put on the closed captioning because I could never tell what he yells out to her before he gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
And what he says to her is, get out of the room. Get out of the room! That's what it always sounded like to me. So
I use that all the time.
I never use it, but I was like, what does Parker say in this scene? He says, get out of the room. As he says that, his head's getting squeezed. The alien punctures his head with the tongue as well. He's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now the alien approaches Lambert, walks towards her, and we never see how she gets killed, but we see the tail go through her legs and up behind her back. Yep. Here is a bit of trivia. However they killed Lambert in the original script or filming wise, they thought it was, I think, a little bit too vague, or either too vague or too violent. I don't remember. So they decided to use a cut scene from Harry Dean Stanton's death. Those legs and the tail, that's Harry Dean Stanton's legs. Okay. That's from his death scene. So they just interjected it there. When Ripley gets to the room, she finds Parker dead on the ground, and fucking Lambert's hanging. Like, the thing hung her. Like, I don't know how. Like, it fucking leather-faced her, I guess.
If I remember right, did they switch those deaths in the book? The one that we reviewed? Did they give Brett that death or something?
No, I don't think they switched it, but I think it was a little bit different how they died.
Yeah,
the two of them.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so now it's all Ripley, and she has she's gotten the cooling thing ready to go, so the ship's going to self-destruct. She finds Jones, but what's the problem with finding Jones? Where's Jones?
Because now the alien's between her and where she needs to go.
Yeah, the alien's like watching Jones, and in the regular cut, Jones is in the cat box, and it's just looking at it. In the director's cut, it smacks the cat box and like knocks it down the hall. I guess the ASPCA people or whoever got pissed off at that, and they probably put it back, where he doesn't smack it. But now she can't get to it. She finally gets Jones. The alien has disappeared after her running around. She tries to go back and reset the self-destruct phase, but Mother is like, no, fuck you. Stop being so fickle, Ripley. Like, do you want to build a ship up or not, Ripley?
She's like, no.
So Ripley finally gets Jones. She makes it to the shuttle, and she gets in there. Now, we know, having seen the movie a million times, that the alien is hiding in the wall of the shuttle.
Yeah.
If you watch when she walks in the shuttle, there's like kind of a long shot. You can clearly see its head. Like, as the audience, if you know, you could see it.
But it's so cool because the organic look of it and the ship, it just fits right in.
Now, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of speculation that the alien, fan community speculation, but this kind of almost makes sense. I don't usually give credence to this ship, but the alien, because its life cycle is so fast, right? Like you said, 10 inches to 7 feet.
Yeah.
A lot of people think the alien, like an animal, didn't go into the shuttle to attack her, because it actually makes sense. How would it know she was going there? Mm-hmm. A lot of people think it crawled into that wall to die like an animal does. You know, like it knew its life cycle was ending, so it just wanted to fucking like be alone and die. She gets in, she gets, Jones put away. Ridley Scott had to talk the studio into letting them move on in this fashion. In the original script and the way the studio wanted it was, she gets on the shuttle, doesn't know what's happening with the alien on the ship. She leaves on the shuttle, the ship blows up, and the movie ends. Mm. And we all just go, oh, the alien died on the ship. That sucks. Like, that's kind of anticlimactic, right?
Right. No final battle.
Yeah, you don't get the final bit. So, Manster, kind of walk us through what's happening on the shuttle, including her weird underwear. I want to talk about her underwear.
Oh, yeah. Well, I forget what she's doing over by the wall, but she's right by the wall, maybe hitting some levers or I don't know, doing something. And obviously, the alien moves. What is she doing?
She's setting her Spotify playlist.
That's what it is. I forgot. So she like slowly backs away, and does she already have her panties off at that point, or
her pants come off
just
soon.
Yeah.
She gets on that ship and her fucking her coveralls come off to those weird panties.
Right. So she's wearing a tank top and these tiny little panties, like G-string.
They go straight across her body. It's not like they cover her. I don't know. I don't know much about women's underwear, but like they go straight across.
Right across the hip bone.
Yeah.
And they're kind of loose, right? They're not like tight or anything.
There's at least a tenth of her butt crack hanging out of it too.
Oh yeah. To me, it looks good. I don't know if you.
No, I'm not. I don't have no problem with this.
I mean, when I'm watching that scene, I'm really only watching one thing.
I can look without like saying it like as a truism. If I were a betting man, and if you were to have an ability to rewind through my youth, I'm sure at some point a young John paused the scene and jerked off to it. I'm not saying I did, but I'm saying the odds of that having happened, it's certainly likely.
It's very likely.
It's like totally likely. It probably happened.
I never did that, but maybe I should have.
Yeah, well, there's still time.
But then you get the nice, the angle. So she's gets into that little cubby where it's very closed in. She doesn't have much room to move, but there's a space suit hanging, and she gets herself into there with her nipples sticking out.
I would be so fucked if I had to try to change in that closet. Like I'd be dead. I'd be fucking dead.
Right. I don't know how she does it, but she manages to get into that suit that's hanging, and puts her helmet on, seals it all up, and then it's time for battle.
She gets out. She straps herself into the con chair. She's singing. What is she singing? Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Oh, something. Yeah, I forget the name of the song.
She's like kind of like like zoning out, right? And she's like putting the 5-point seatbelt on and everything because she knows what she's gonna do. She's gonna fucking hit that door and suck this thing the fuck out. Now, meanwhile, part of her spacesuit is she has a harpoon gun with a grapple on it, and as she's doing all this, we get a really cool strobe flash effect that like from lights inside the shuttle, and she starts to turn her head in the bubble of her spacesuit. And just as she does, we see that giant toothed pecker about to fucking explode on her, and she screams, and she hits the fucking door open button.
Yeah.
The door opens, and the thing goes flying out, but it's got the wherewithal, right? What is it? It holds itself.
Yeah,
there, right?
It's able to grab on and like keep itself from fully flying out.
So what does she do, Master?
She fucking fires up that harpoon thing, blasts it right out of there. Does it stick? Yeah, it holds on to that, right? And it's like on a tether.
It gets shot out the door, but then the door shuts and it catches the gun before the gun comes out. So now it's like floating outside, and she gets up out of the seat and she's looking out at it through the window, and then like it just slowly floats like a fucking bird into one of like the Boeing's engines.
Yeah.
It just kind of floats over into one of the engines, and she hits the fucking overdrive button.
Yeah, fires that thing right up. Done.
Blast that turkey. Blast that fucking turkey. And then we get her final little, I'm the final survivor. This is what happened. Signing off, holding Jones. Classic ending. The original ending in the script was that the alien was going to have killed her too. And then that final bit where it's talking to somebody at like Wayland Station or whatever was supposed to have been the alien that has the ability to mimic people. Thank fucking Christ they never did that. That would have been horrible. The movie ends and we get 57 years later her adventures in Aliens, which was go back 2 years worth of episodes and you'll find it. So that is 1979's Alien. Why don't we talk about the box office?
This country, you gotta make the money first.
Manster, in all my fervor, I did not write down the budget. You know the budget of this thing?
I got a budget of $11 million.
Oof. Oh, that's $11 quality $1 million spent right there.
Right.
Holy shit. That's pretty awesome. All right. So for the week ending May 27th, I guess, of 1979. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. For the year of 1979, I don't have a week ending. Let's talk about what were the top 5 films of that year. Alien comes in at number 5. It made $79 million. Now remember, kids, $79 million in 1979 was a lot of money. Number 4, $82 million, a film we did years ago back in the Sir John days. Star Trek, The Motion Picture.
Yeah, we did that with Keith.
We did. Yeah, our buddy Keith Larson. Number 3 for that year, $85 million. The sequel to one of the greatest stories ever told, Rocky II. $86 million, number 2 for that year, and a film we will be doing very soon on the Pint Insider. It is the last of our Scary Larry's House of Horrors classics films we have not talked about yet, the Amityville Horror.
Mm.
And every time we do 1979, the number 1 film, which came out in 1978, but just rocked the box office all year long, with $93 million. Ba, 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 ba. It's fucking Superman. The soup. The soup. Summer of Superman 2025. That's what James Gunn is saying because next year is the big Superman movie. But in 1979, it was Christopher Reeve. It was fucking Gene Hackman. It was Ned Beatty. It was Margot Kidder. It was fucking Superman, the movie.
What did that make?
93 million in 79. It was released at the end of 78.
Right.
So I don't even know what it made.
I have the number 1 that was actually released in 79, but also released in December of that year. So
what was it?
It was only on the 1980 list. Kramer versus Kramer.
Ooh.
102 million.
Meryl Streep supposedly never has liked Dustin Hoffman because apparently in a scene in that movie, he slapped her for real without telling her he was going to do it.
Oh.
And she's like, fuck your method acting. Like, if you're going to do that shit, let me know.
That's Meryl Streep, man. You don't slap Meryl Streep.
No.
You don't bitch slap her.
He did. All right, Manster, let's rate this fucking thing.
Don't judge me, monkey.
All right. Happy Alien Day yet again. Hopefully you're going to be, this comes out on Alien Day. Hopefully you'll be sitting down and watching this and or any of the films, whether they're the good ones like this one or the bad ones like Alien vs. Predator or Requiem. Give yourself a couple hours and enjoy some of the goodness. Read the comics, go read some of the novels. There's so much stuff out there. This has truly spawned an incredible franchise. I'm going to go quick because at the beginning of this episode, I said this is my second favorite movie of all time. So I don't think I have to really go too far. Perfect cast, perfect horror film setting. It's a haunted house in space. The dialogue is tight. The writing is tight. The alien is incredible. The design of the alien is incredible. The design of the ship is incredible. I never tire of watching this movie. I love this movie. I will suggest if you do watch this, always watch the theatrical cut. But if you are a fan, check out the director's cut because there are some cool things. You know, if you're a completionist kind of like me where you like to see stuff, you know, like I said, the crab walk is weird, but it's cool to see.
If you want to see Lambert, you know, deck Ripley.
Yeah, you want to
check out that one.
If you want to see the really weird scene we didn't talk about where
crab walk.
Ripley finds Brett and fucking Dallas like turning into eggs, you can find that too. But straight up 1979's Alien by Ridley Scott is a 5. This is there will be no regrets on this rating of a 5 because it is 100% a 5. I love this movie. That's all I'm going to say about it. Master, what do you got?
Yeah, you said everything that needs to be said. I think I like the isolation, you know, like all really good movies, it's isolated place where it's claustrophobic and you can't escape. I like the pacing, even though it's slow, it is a little bit slow, but I'm so engaged by the story and the mission that I don't care about that. Unlike another Ridley Scott movie, which I like, but I don't love like I love this one, which would be Blade Runner.
Okay.
I get bored by the first, 45 minutes of Blade Runner. I like the unexplained mystery of the space jockey, and that's going to come up in the future. But I like that it's unexplained here, and I like the voice of the characters. Like each one is distinct, and it's fun. Everybody's motivation, so it's really cool. Even Crybaby.
Yeah.
Lambert. So yeah, I can't, I don't really want an explanation for the Hellraiser room. I don't need it. I like that it's there. So yeah, there's nothing I would do to change this movie. It's a 5.
In 1979 or 1980, Kenner, I believe it was, came out with like an 18-inch alien action figure because like they just didn't get what this was an adult movie. Like that's so fucking nuts, but they did it. They're out there. You could find them. But I always think stuff like that's funny. But like we were talking about before, along with the rating, like the score is incredible. The fucking poster is iconic.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
The poster is iconic. So yeah, 5 and a 5. That's 10.
And I do have the best sculpture ever made.
Yes.
You can see it. Can you see it?
I can see it in the back there. Yes.
Right up there by Larry Elig. That was his prototype model. They never made it. I know he got commissioned by, I'm going to say Hasbro, to do an alien figurine, but it never happened. And I have that, and it's fucking awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and you got me that fucking badass scrap metal alien.
Oh yeah,
that's one of my favorite things in my collection.
Yeah.
Besides the
I
sentimentality.
Metal Park in the city.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to take pictures of that when this episode comes out, and you take pictures of yours.
I'll take that.
And we'll put them up. I'll do a bunch of alien collectibles because I got a bunch of shit. So this has been Anniversary April. The Pint is celebrating at this point on 4/26. Our 7th anniversary was 3 days ago on 4/23. So it's been very exciting. We've done all movies that are celebrating big anniversaries. May is coming up, and we'll be doing some different stuff in May. Manster, tell them where they can find us, and then tell them to see you.
Google us. You can find us anywhere. Facebook and YouTube, The Pint, a pop culture podcast. Instagram and Twitter at The Pint Podcast. And obviously Pint Insiders at www.patreon.com/The Pint. He's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over!
Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!